2015, there are still parts of the world where you could be discriminated against, tortured, raped, or even murdered simply because of your gender and or sexual orientation. In Nicaragua, any day could be your last if you aren't straight. The only warning sign that you could have could be finding the body of your best friend. This is the story of a young lesbian in Nicaragua named Damaris. But it doesn't end there. In Russia, it is illegal to even promote homosexuality, let alone be homosexual. Anyone convicted could even face the death penalty. And in Uganda, people with HIV/AIDS are being denied health care because of the stigma surrounding the disease. And in America, an instance of discrimination is the story of Anastasia Smirnova's Coalition for LGBT plus people. Their meetings were surveilled, and because of this, members were subject to threats and even violence. Thus, our claim. The United Nations should formally recognize the right to express one's gender and orientation without being denied their universal human rights.
Therefore, our solvency mechanism is a mindset shift. Bayard Rustin was the primary organizer of marches during the Civil Rights Movement. The main 6 leaders of the movement knew that he was the driving force behind the critical demonstrations. However, because he was gay, he was denied credit for his efforts and achievements. In order to promote tolerance and justice in today's society, we should push public education because legalities aren't enough. Public education acts as an empathizer. If we don't act now, we are denying people of their humanity. Today's generation still holds prejudices. Serious bullying is committed in American schools against LGBT plus people daily. This can drive people to drop out of school, like Caleb Leisky, or even attempt suicide. Spreading the truth of how harmful discrimination can be is a key method along with our plan. Recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Thank you.
Like Russia and Nicaragua, isn't there sovereignty in those nations so that they get to choose, regardless of the United Nations, what they want to implement in their borders?
Of course they have sovereignty, but with the United Nations has influence that can pressure these nations and show them that it's time that we finally recognize the rights of LGBT people.
So in your speech you talk about how our generation is going to be prejudiced towards these issues. So how would you expect the mindset mechanism to work if we're so prejudiced?
Well, that's why public education is key. So there are a lot of people, like in our generation, like I can say a lot of people in this room, right, are really interested in learning more about like LGBT plus people, and that's why we need to that's why the mindset shift is key in order to allow people to, I guess, spread education that intolerance cannot be permitted.
When you say you want to spread education that intolerance cannot be permitted, how do you want to do that? Because like, if I know like what a lesbian or what a gay or what a transgender person is, like how will that make me, I mean I'm not saying against it, but I'm just saying like if someone was against it, how would education or just knowing about who these people are, like how would that make them change their mindset?
Well, I think in the status quo, there's a lot of silence when it comes to like the violence that they actually experience. So, like a lot of these things that we talked about, I didn't know until we actually went to the Center for Civil and Human Rights. And of course, we aren't saying that we can force every single person to think this way because it just honestly is not true. But that's just why our public education is key to like shift more people instead of just like a small tangent of society that's kind of like not prejudiced towards these people.
So you talk about like you want the UN to like formally announce that they believe these people deserve rights. Do they not already do this? Like, is that not part of their like 30 human rights codes that say that LGBT people otherwise should have rights like equal rights?
The Universal Declaration for Human Rights does say that you have the right to marry, but this specific United Nations action focuses on LGBT people and puts more puts the spotlight back on this issue and pressures more countries to recognize the rights of these people.
When you say LGBT plus, what exactly does the plus stand for?
Okay, so LGBT plus is actually a pretty reductionist, what's the word? You know, it's pretty reductionist in itself, and I wish that that wasn't really the word that we could use, but the plus is like, basically, it's like lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, asexual, intersex, gender fluid, pansexual. There's a lot of them. I'm sorry. I know them if I had to. Yeah.
You said you're going to implement your idea in public schools. How would you stop private schools from implementing a counteractive agenda?
It's not public schools. It's just like public education, right? So basically spreading more or shedding light on these issues that happen like in the media and like etc.
One more question, and I would encourage you to take the question from the judge. Just sort of a suggestion.
Yeah, your solvency mechanisms talks about for you're using public education. What does this public education entail? Is it just education on LGBTQ more acronyms on about shedding light on that subject, or providing public education to everyone, so the person is just higher intellect versus
It's about, it's basically both of those things kind of put together. It's basically we shed the light on the different kinds of genders and sexual orientations, but also the violence that's committed against them. So then people are more likely to see that their actions actually have more of an impact